Is there life after death? And does a human soul reincarnate on Earth or maybe elsewhere again and again? The following are 4 cases where the children claim to have lived a previous life, and in one of the cases has credible evidence. Luna Maronei. Luna was born in Copenhagen, Denmark, whose parents were both Italian. At the age of 3, she told her parents that her real name was Maria Espina and she was from the Philippines, and asked to go home as she wanted to visit her father. She claimed her father owned a restaurant on Highway 54 close to the Church of Christ. Luna was fond of bokan, which her parents had never heard of. After doing some research, they found that bokan was actually buko pandan and was a Filipino dessert made with coconut. Luna also described the various festivals and ceremonies in great detail. On occasions, she would also dance and would hum a certain tune that her parents were totally unfamiliar with. Luna said that she'd met Filipino President Diosdado Macapagal, who she described as being tall, and had given him some red flowers, and she'd worn new shoes for this special occasion. On further research, they found that Diosdado Pangon Macapagal was a Filipino lawyer, poet, and politician who served as the 9th president of the Philippines from 1961 to 1965. How could a child of 3, born in Denmark to Italian parents, have known about bokan, Filipino culture, and a Filipino president from the early 1960s? Her story came to the attention of the media, and some reporters went to the Philippines to check on the young girl's story. The reporters were able to locate Highway 54 and also the Church of Christ that was close by. They also found that a restaurant had once stood in that location, and the owner was a man called Yves Espina, who worked there with his wife, and the couple did have a daughter called Maria, who had died of fever at the age of 12. With even more amazing proof, they found that a young girl by the name of Maria Espina had been chosen to present flowers to President Macapagal when he visited their town, and that President Macapagal had indeed been a tall man. With even further proof of what Luna had claimed, the parents of the young Filipino girl had purchased a pair of shoes for their daughter to wear to honour the special occasion. In 1974, a woman by the name of Sybil Leek wrote a book called Reincarnation, The Second Chance. The fact that the president ruled from 1961 to 1965 and the book was written in 1974 means that there were not many years between Maria Espina dying and a short time later being reborn as Luna Maronei. Angela Mahoney. Angela was born in Cork in Southern Ireland. When she was 22 months old, her parents moved to Poole in Dorset in southern England. Up to that time, the parents had never been outside Ireland, and young Angela had never been outside of Cork. However, the first time her mother took her out to the coastal town of Poole, they passed a building called Barclay House, which was a large bank building. As they were passing the building, Angela became extremely animated, screaming, "Look, Mummy, that's my hospital. That's where I was a nurse." Her mother then tried to explain to her daughter that it was a bank, not a hospital, but Angela said that it had once been a hospital when she was there before. She then told her mother that she was once a nurse and would always come down this road wearing a long dress along with her nurse's hat. From that moment on, every time they walked past Barclay House, young Angela would repeat the same things. As she got older, she was able to tell her parents more about the life she remembered. Further research found that Angela's claims turned out to be factual, and it was discovered that Barclay House had been built as a workhouse in 1838 and had employed nurses, and was later converted to an infirmary in 1900. An infirmary was a place, as in a school or prison, where sick or injured individuals received care and treatment. They were unable to locate any specific person that Angela described, so the exact length of the intermission is unknown. However, judging by a description of the time, she could have lived in a previous life as a nurse approximately 100 years ago. Gail Woodward. Gail Woodward, from Liverpool in northwest England, has a past life memory where she was a lady of the manor sometime during the 18th century. One day after she'd had lunch, 2-year-old Gail casually said, "I will have my coffee in the lounge, please, Mummy." Her mother, both surprised and amused, asked her daughter whether she was imagining herself as a lady. Her daughter replied, "Yes, of course." Gail then went on to describe the large house in which she'd lived, the big house with lots of steps coming down from the door, the one with the big rooms and tall roofs. "Don't you remember?" Mother said that she did not remember anything of the sort. Gail said that her family had a lot of helpers, one of whom kept their coach in immaculate condition. The coachman sat on a high seat on top at the front, from which he drove the horses. Sometimes only one horse would pull the carriage, on other occasions 2 horses would pull the carriage. She had a favourite horse that was a black stallion. It was called Gypsy, but he did not pull any carriages. On a few occasions the carriage was sent to collect people who came to the house to attend many of the parties that her family hosted. Gail then described in detail how she dressed, where she would wear long, pretty dresses. One time Gail got extremely upset when her mother wanted to cut her hair, and she insisted that she wanted her hair long, because that was how she'd worn it before. She was also fascinated with old-fashioned jewellery, especially old brooches. She liked it when they visited jumble sales or rummage sales, because she would often find old brooches. As can happen with many children who remember past lives, by the age of 7, her memories started to fade. But she continued to carry herself in a reserved and modest manner, as she did in her previous life. She had a sense of dignity that would have been unusual in a small child of her age. Jasper Stiger. Late one night when Jasper's mother was taking him to the toilet, she asked him to be very quiet so as not to wake up any other members of the family. It was at this point where his mother was taken aback when he said he used to live in the place where he had to pee very quietly against a piece of paper so as to muffle the sound. That moment seemed to be a trigger point in young Jasper's life. Occasionally he would talk about other things that he'd recalled, where he said that he'd been a Jewish boy. After a period of time, his mother noted that at the age of 3, Jasper had made 15 statements about a former life in Germany under the Hitler regime, and that after his father was arrested by the Nazis, he and the rest of the family were forced to go into hiding. At one time he claimed to have faced a firing squad but managed to escape by jumping through a window. Fortunately, he survived the Holocaust and lived to be an old man. Jasper would often talk about his memories of the period between his death in that life and his present life. He told his mother that she was also his mother in his previous life and had specifically chosen to return to her. He also said that a soul had a choice of whether they wished to reincarnate or not. Jasper claimed that people have a task to fulfill in their earthly life, where several people might be entrusted with the same task, which might concern an entire society, not only one's own personal goals. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit like. It really helps to keep the channel growing. And if you're new here, subscribe and tap the bell icon so you never miss our latest videos. We've got lots of strange and fascinating stories coming up, and we'd love to have you along for the journey.
In the coastal regions of Norway, where ancient burial mounds dot the landscape and stone circles lie hidden beneath church foundations, a remarkable story of reincarnation emerged through the memories of a woman named Astred. Born into a Christian fundamentalist congregation, Astred's journey to discovering her past life as a Viking-era Volva, a Norse medicine woman and seer, began with childhood experiences that defied her religious upbringing. From her earliest years, Astrid possessed an imaginary friend who served as a voice of reason, constantly questioning the Christian teachings she received in church. This companion, who would later prove to be more than mere imagination, told young Astrid that she was a witch and different from other children. Even as a child, Astrid discovered she could travel into imaginary worlds, what she now suspects was astral projection, though she dismissed these experiences when she started school around age 6, telling her friend he wasn't real and needed to disappear. Astrid's paranormal abilities manifested early. Throughout her life, she experienced an uncanny awareness whenever someone close to her died, often waking in the middle of the night with the certain knowledge of their passing. These psychic experiences would intensify dramatically following a life-changing event in her adult years. In 2008, Astrid and her boyfriend moved to the Salten district of Norway, where she began practicing yoga and meditation, following an Indian regimen. The following year, in 2009, they relocated to another area in Latvia with a view of the sea. It was here that Astrid began experiencing intense deja vu episodes, sometimes lasting for hours, occurring almost daily for years. She felt an overwhelming sense of being exactly where she was meant to be, initially attributing these feelings to her yoga practice. Everything changed in July 2012 when Astrid gave birth to her first child. During delivery, a catastrophic medical emergency occurred. The placenta had grown into her uterus, and when an overstressed midwife attempted to remove it by force, it ruptured. Astrid began hemorrhaging so severely that her boyfriend described it as turning on a faucet. She was rushed to surgery, where she experienced a profound near-death experience. During her NDE, Astrid found herself in Valhalla, which she learned meant Hall of Choices in Old Norse. There, she reunited with her childhood imaginary friend and other beings who revealed that she had already completed her life's original mission. She was given a choice: return to her body or move on to her next life. Initially feeling no attachment to her current life, Astrid changed her mind when shown how her newborn daughter's life would unfold without her. She chose to return, awakening with an overwhelming sense that everything is exactly as it should be, and that despite pain and suffering in the world, it all serves a purpose. Astrid's recovery was remarkably swift, so rapid that medical staff had never seen anyone heal so quickly from such major surgery. She was released in less than a week, surprising doctors who expected at least a 7-day stay. But more significant than her physical healing were the spiritual changes that followed. 6 weeks after her NDE, while walking her daughter in a stroller in Sultan, with its familiar ocean view, Astrid experienced her first vivid past-life vision. She found herself in an oval house held by 2 men while watching another man slowly murder her 2 children and husband before her eyes. A deliberate act designed to inflict maximum suffering. The grief overwhelmed her, causing relationship strain with her boyfriend, who struggled to understand or believe her experience. Later memories revealed the moments before this tragedy. Astrid recalled being on a hillside with the same ocean view, the air filled with the scent of sun-warmed rocks, grass and blackberries. She was picking berries with her children, a baby strapped to her back and a toddler helping gather fruit. Her young son suddenly pointed to ships in the distance, asking, "Why do they have red sails?" The colour triggered immediate panic in Astrid, who recognised these as enemy vessels. She ordered her son to run home and warn everyone while she secured her baby and followed. In that life, Astrid had been a Volva, a wand-bearing shaman and medicine woman. Her teacher had warned that having children would make her spiritual duties much harder, advice Astrid had ignored. Now, with raiders approaching, she faced an agonising choice between protecting her children and completing a crucial ritual at one of the stone structures scattered throughout the area. These stone fences, which Astrid initially assumed were property markers from the 17th or 18th centuries, were actually far older, some possibly standing since her previous lifetime. The memories revealed that Astrid had an older daughter who survived the attack. She had been away hunting with the men when the raiders came. After death, Astrid's spirit remained with this daughter as she hid alone and terrified in the forest, aware of her mother's presence but unable to communicate directly. When Astrid's present-day daughter turned 2 and began kindergarten at a place called Orlandet, meaning otter spit, they would daily pass a church near the kindergarten. This triggered an extraordinary series of dreams that continued nightly for 6 weeks, becoming so vivid They felt more real than waking life. In these dreams, Astrid found herself at a massive Viking Age gathering, the last time all the peoples of the north would come together. She and her sister wandered through a camp filled with visitors from distant lands. Atop a nearby hill stood an enormous stone circle located just metres from where the church now stands. Orlandet, she learnt from a historian, had been the cultural centre for all of South Norway. The dreams revealed a profound ritual. Young women dressed in white, including Astrid, entered the stone circle where Volvas, predominantly female shamans, waited. As drums beat and torches blazed around the circle's perimeter, the women danced until achieving trance states. In this collective out-of-body experience, Astrid saw how these standing stones were perceived by the group to amplify mystical capabilities, creating a vortex of power that centred on an elderly woman seated in the circle's heart, the same teacher who had trained Astrid as a Volva. This wise woman showed them a terrifying vision. From the south, a black smoke was spreading across the land, devouring everything in its path. She revealed this darkness would destroy their culture and way of life, but warned they must not tell others they would lose. If people knew defeat was certain, they wouldn't fight. She explained that humanity, still immature like a child, needed to experience this darkness collectively to grow, though it would take thousands of years to emerge from it. The young Volvas were told they would be among the last of their kind, tasked with preserving their knowledge through rituals designed to help them remember in future lives. The gathering also featured a midsummer fertility ritual. Young men dressed in bearskins danced around a blazing fire in a test of endurance, with the winner gaining first chance to chase the Volva initiates into the forest for a night of ritual mating. During this ceremony, Astrid fell deeply in love with a young man from the east, so intensely that she could always sense his location and distance. Their union produced a daughter conceived during this sacred ritual, designed to become a Volva herself. This was the same daughter who later survived the raid, and whom Astrid believes is her youngest child in her current life. A girl notably fearful of being alone, especially in darkness. After separating from her boyfriend, Astrid eventually moved to a special location where more memories surfaced. The property belonged to a historian whose family had owned the land for at least 500 years, though he suspected closer to 1,000. This area, one of the first populated regions in Norway after the last ice age, contained numerous burial mounds and archaeological treasures, including a 9,000-year-old stone axe found in the garden where Astrid now lived. When Astrid finally shared her memories with her historian landlord, his reaction was profound. Standing open-mouthed, he confirmed she had described things she couldn't possibly have known, details he himself had discovered. She correctly identified the location of an unexcavated Viking Age farm, accurately placed events on terrain only specialists would recognise as significant, and described the ancient paths Vikings would have used. The stone circle she remembered at Orlandet likely existed, he confirmed, as it would be strange for such a major cultural centre to lack one. Indeed, one stone remains, now standing inside the church over 2 metres high, later inscribed with Christian runes. When Astrid touched it, she heard drums and smelled smoke, recognising it as part of her remembered circle. The historian also validated Astrid's understanding of religious history. Christianity's advance into Norway was far more complex than commonly taught. Charlemagne's brutal northern campaign included the massacre of 4,000 Saxons after forced baptism, which had enraged the north. The Vikings' first recorded raid at Lindisfarne in England wasn't random violence, but strategic warfare in a centuries-long religious conflict. Even King Olive the Holy, credited with Christianising Norway and who died as a martyr, was likely Christian in name only. The sagas record someone challenging him about claiming to be a reincarnation of Olaf externals. Astred's memories revealed the Norse peoples before Christianity were remarkably peaceful, becoming violent only after generations of sending young men to war. The old practices survived far longer than official history suggests. Some Norwegian regions remained pagan until just 200 years ago. In places like Setesdal Valley, isolated until a century ago by 2-week hikes, pagan traditions persisted. Buildings there still bear hidden carvings. God bless this house, visible above. Odin bless this house, carved beneath. One evening, following a dream where an archetypal old witch instructed her that runes were meant to be chanted, not written, Astrid attempted this practice when alone in her bathtub. Chanting the rune Dagaz, she lost control of her body, unable to stop the chanting. She experienced herself simultaneously in the bathtub and in a past life forest ritual, dancing around a fire. Her past self had deliberately opened a portal to the future, creating a bridge across time that allowed both selves to experience each other's realities. The past Astrid was confused by the white walls and bathtub, while the present Astrid recognised this as part of the programming to ensure that she would remember. Another synchronistic element involved an amber stone shaped like a teardrop. In a dream, Astrid visited Grindelwald, a real village in the Swiss Alps she'd never heard of before. There, a cranky elderly shopkeeper named Mr. Tamine gave her an amber teardrop, explaining an old woman had left it decades earlier, with instructions to give it to a young woman who would come seeking it. Upon touching the stone, Astrid was transported to her past life memory of watching the red-sailed ships approach. To her astonishment, upon searching Grindelwald online, she discovered not only was it a real village, but it appeared exactly as it had in her dream. Later, at a market where she sold herbal teas, Astrid found an identical amber stone and acquired it for 2 packets of tea, planning to one day complete the loop by delivering it to Grindelwald. Astrid came to understand that her memories served a purpose. The area where she lives, protected by ancient spirits and modern conservationists alike, remains largely untouched despite its proximity to the city. When developers planned a road through this high biodiversity region, the discovery of a butterfly species, thought extinct since the 1970s, halted construction. Her landlord has refused millions from developers, choosing to protect the forest rather than profit from its destruction. Astrid now embraces her identity as a witch, feeling she's stepping into who she's meant to be. She recognises many souls from her past, including her Swedish ex-boyfriend, whom she believes was the man from the Midsummer Ritual. They share intense attraction, despite incompatible worldviews. Her maternal grandmother has returned as her newborn nephew, announced through a dream saying, "I am ready to come back into your life now." Even her eldest daughter remembered being Astrid's mother in a past life, living in round houses which she later clarified were igloos. Through her journey from Christian fundamentalism to recurring memories of being a Viking Age vulva, Astrid embodies the very mission revealed in her ancient visions, preserving and reviving knowledge of the old ways as humanity slowly emerges from its long darkness. Her story suggests that the Norse people's practice of reincarnating within their regions and family lines continues, with souls returning to complete unfinished work and heal ancient wounds. As Astred learned during her near-death experience, everything unfolds exactly as it should. And despite the pain and suffering, everything serves a purpose in humanity's collective growth toward maturity.